The time has come for us to get started with the 2026 Internet Marketing Planning Session. Thank you all for being here today. Do see, obviously, we're in Zoom, so we have a chat functionality. Feel free to, if there's ever any questions that you have, anything that I go over, throw it into the chat. In fact, if somebody could do me a favor, anybody could do me a favor and just let me know that my audio is coming through okay. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me okay. And also that you can see my screen. You see the PowerPoint that just says 2026 marketing planning. Perfect. Alex, Kason, thank you. So, with that said, we've got a decent amount of ground to cover. I want to make sure that you guys leave with some value. There's going to be a couple of resources. There'll be QR codes on the screen. But we really want to take today and take an opportunity to think about our plan for how we're going to approach 2026. I'm going to give you, from my perspective, what's changing in the landscape, and we're going to put together some actionable things that we can all take away and work on our businesses with. So, again, the plan for this session is we're going to set some clear goals and targets for the year. Realign on KPIs and tracking to achieve the outcomes that we desire. Because if you don't have any KPIs or performance indicators that you're chasing, then it kind of feels like you're just, rowing upstream. We're going to actually map out a plan to accomplish what it is that we're looking to accomplish. And that'll include things like talking about the budget that we need, the different channels that we should be leveraging, and what the important trends are in the industry. So, goal here is to set up your tree service business for massive success going into 2026 and beyond, because a lot of this framework you will be able to leverage year over year and even identify and make changes monthly if need be. So who am I and why should you listen to me? I'm not just a smooth podcast voice. Co-founder of Arborist Marketing Pros. We are the one of the go-to agencies to help tree service companies that really want to grow. Author of the crew expansion workbook that we put out there to help tree services understand when to add another crew. Also, we have the upcoming book that'll be out in Q1 of 2026, More Trees, More Calls, More Cash, where I just brain dump everything that it is that I know about internet marketing for tree services in book form. That'll be available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. I am the host of the Branching Out podcast. I think I saw Alex. He was actually the last guest that I had on there. Cool to see you again. Have built multiple seven-figure marketing systems that help attract high-quality, high-ticket tree service leads. We've created Branch Score AI, that's a lead quality engine, and Clippy, an AI receptionist that's used by some tree companies nationwide. So the list kind of goes on and on. But we've been doing this for quite some time. I'm co-founder. My business partner, Philip Baum, also a genius in his own right. He is the other co-founder of Arborist Marketing Pros. We are members of the ISA, members of the TCIA. I am not an arborist, I will say that. I have a huge respect for people that have passed that certification, but we are on the member side, associate members. So here's some of our friends all across the country that do tree work and love what we do, and we love what they do. And oh, look at this! There he is, the star of the show here. We've got Alex Wright. This is basically the podcast that you can find on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. This is our latest episode, but we've got a ton of resources on here for tree service companies. We talk about everything from mindset to tactical how to run Google ad campaigns. So a ton of value there for you. So, with all that said, now the time has come for us to go ahead and jump into the 2026 Internet Marketing Plan. Again, it's going to be best for you if you have a pen, paper, something that you can take notes with if you're not in front of a computer per se. If you're driving, don't do that. But if you're stationary, we're going to be going over some numbers and some strategies that you'll be able to deploy to make sure that we can win in 2026. From our perspective, some of the biggest trends that we're seeing in the industry is the growing popularity of AI. We should, of course, always be focused on Google, because as much as I would love to say that AI is the new thing that you should invest all of your resources into, the reality is that consumers, people in general, are slow to adopt a lot of these technologies. You're still hearing people that are demonizing AI, they're scared of AI, they're not going to use AI, and that's going to take some time before AI search becomes the new normal. We're still in the place, even going into 2026, while yes, ChatGPT does have some search impact and some volume that's hitting websites, Google is still the primary driver. It accounts for over 70% of all web traffic that we see. So We should be setting the foundation for AI search, but it absolutely shouldn't be where you're spending all of your marketing dollars at this point in the game. One of the biggest opportunities that most tree service companies have, from my perspective, is the ability to do online scheduling. Now, there's some challenges that go along with this, like we don't know where we're going to be on certain days of the weeks. And so it does require us to be more organized and thoughtful with how we are dispatching our crews. But additionally, it will separate us from the competition. Tree service, this industry is one of the ones that is a little bit slower to adopt things like online scheduling, where customers want to go ahead and book a time for you to come without having to talk to you on the phone. So, all that said, we'll go over some ways that you can incorporate online scheduling. Many of the CRMs that we use have functionality for that, whether it's Jobber or Single Ops or a Go High Level. They all have functionality that would allow you to do said thing. Two-way text messaging. Give your clients the option to give you a call or send you a text. That's huge. More importantly, from my perspective, is sort of leveraging this next bullet point, which is AI lead follow-up. You should have a system that is automatically nurturing your past customers, but that only happens if you happen to have a CRM system that you're using. So data is super important. And then last but not least, absolutely not least, is authentic video creation. I see a lot in this space about, I see a lot of very professional and high quality, drone shots and all these things that we spend a good amount of money to get the asset, but then we don't really do anything with the asset once we have it, right? Like we might post it on our social media, maybe it gets put on our website, but it doesn't actually reach a ton of people because we're not proactively either A, sending it out or running ad campaigns against it on things like Facebook. So when I say authentic video content creation, this is very much, and I see some guys that I'm friends with on Facebook do a phenomenal job with this, which is explain to the homeowner or to the person like me who, is on the marketing side. I'm in the tree care industry, but I don't know as much as you guys do. Explain the different types of diseases that you're seeing, the reasons why you're removing this type of a tree, the dangers that come into doing just a simple pruning job and the considerations that many homeowners aren't going to think about. That's going to position you as the expert, and it's going to make all of your marketing dollars work that much harder. So we're going to get our messaging right. Wanted to talk about, obviously, in our agency, we're sitting on a lot of data, but we also are paying attention to this data because we want our clients to win. But what we're seeing in this industry right now, if you're new to this call, you know that you probably get calls every single day about an SEO agency and how SEO is the king of the crop and you need your SEO. And yes, search engine optimization is important. However, when we look at the actual data, here's what's working in 2025. 42% of the first click went to Google local service ads. That's almost half. Below that, you have 29% that went to the local pack. That's your Google 3 pack, which now you can actually inject an advertisement placement into that pack as well. And then you get to the 22%, which is this organic results. If you're only doing SEO in 2026 and you're not investing in paid ads, you are spending all of your marketing dollars to fight over 22% of the first click. We started our agency as an SEO agency. We didn't want to get into paid advertising because that was way too much to manage. You have to check the campaigns every day. It's a lot going on. But once Google rolled out local service ads for tree service companies, it destroyed SEO. So if you've been in the game for several years, you probably have seen that. The phone used to ring just by organic calls coming in from Google, and that has tapered off. And that's primarily because the whole first page of Google now is ads for tree services. That varies by industry. So if you've got a friend that is a mechanic, we'll say, and owns a mechanic shop, there is no local service ads for mechanics. I have a friend that does digital marketing for the cannabis industry. And we were down in Miami, we were having lunch. He was telling me how SEO is king. And I was like, how is that even possible? But then he reminded me, you can't run ads in that industry because it's so heavily regulated. And so the first spot truly is organic search engine results. So for his industry, SEO makes total sense. For our industry, we have to be running paid ads to get to the top of Google. You might ask yourself, well, where does meta ads fit into this? And I always think about Meta as being upstream. So we have what's called the marketing funnel. At the bottom is you've got people that are ready to pull the trigger. They walk outside and they see a tree that's sitting on their house. What are they doing? They're not going to Facebook and starting to scroll. They're picking up the phone and they're going to Google and they're going to call the first person with decent reviews that pops up. And that's why you need to be running ads so that you can capture that bottom of the funnel activity. However, there's only so many people that have a tree that are sitting on their house. There's only so many people that need your services at any given time, depending on how big your service area is. And it's supply and demand. So if there's 100 people and there's 10 tree companies, the ad costs are going to be through the roof because you're fighting over such a small segment of people. That's when it makes total sense to reach up the funnel and help and have Facebook help you find people that aren't necessarily ready to buy right now, but we could pull them into our atmosphere and then run ads against them to get them to convert. We have to sell them, right? We have to be cognizant of what's going to be important to them. And that's where the customer avatar and things that we'll talk about later really come into play, is understanding who it is that you're actually marketing to. So I hope that this slide didn't, I'll say, dismiss anybody's ideas about I need to focus on SEO. SEO is still important. Getting reviews from your clients is still important. However, if you want to build a sustainable marketing strategy that is scalable, we have to be considering running paid ads in 2026 because that is what dominates the first page of Google. Uh, So, the first thing that we really want to accomplish here is we want to understand what are our goals for 2026. And too often I talk to business owners, tree service business owners, and one of the questions that we'll ask them when we're first getting to know each other is I'll say, what was your revenue last year? And what is your target revenue for this upcoming year? And you would be surprised at the amount of times that they don't really either A, know exactly what their revenue was, and they definitely a lot of times don't have a plan on what they want next year's revenue number to be. It's almost like when we're asking this question, it's the first time that they've thought about this. And so if you don't have that plan, it's hard to gauge how much further we need to go and how much we need to invest into marketing to hit that. Because at the end of the day, I like to believe that marketing is just math. It's really fluffy, this sort of amorphous thing that, like, marketing can mean a ton of different things, but at the end of the day, it's dollars in and dollars out. And so we have to be very clear about what the dollars out are going to be set at so that we can figure out what the dollars in should be. I love this quote: success is goals, all else is commentary, right? If you don't have a plan, right? And we get busy, right? You guys are in the field day in, day out, or you're at the office trying to orchestrate this thing. It gets really easy to just kind of feel like you're this ship that's at sea that is just kind of going wherever the wind takes us. That phrase that people like to throw around. But when you have some goals and you have some strategies and you're able to put a plan together, then you can put some wind into your sails and really get where you're trying to go. But we have to have that destination in mind. So if you have a pen, if you're not driving, if you have the ability to take notes, I would ask you to jot these things down. What is my current average monthly revenue? Then I want to know, what is the typical number of jobs that we run every single month? And that's going to vary wildly depending on how big your business is, how many crews you have, all of those things. We're not talking about profit. We're just strictly talking about top line revenue. So how many jobs do I do per month? What's my average monthly revenue? The other things that we really want to understand are the average ticket price. Like, what is your average job worth? Now, it is not lost on me that trimming a single palm tree is vastly different from a land clearing job as far as the amount of the ticket. But if we had to think about, okay, on an average single month, what is it? And for most of our clients, it's somewhere in the $1,200 to $1,500 range. Obviously, that's going to depend on how wooded and what kind of jobs you really focus on, but try to get a sense of what that average ticket is. It's going to be super important when we start analyzing our marketing ROI because we need to know, what is the customer worth. Next, we're going to talk about what the average conversion in the field is. So, of all the leads that you get now, whether it's coming in from yard signs or your website, because all that's marketing. I know we're going to be focusing really heavily on your digital marketing plan on this webinar and this workshop, but also be considering that marketing, it should all sort of work together cohesively as one unit. So, what is what is your conversion? How many leads does it take you to actually close one into a sale, right? You'll want to know, ideally, that's above 30% on qualified leads. If not, there's some opportunity there. And if it's below that, there's some opportunity there. And if it's above that, we might not be looking at all leads total, because if you're closing, 8 out of 10 Facebook leads, I would like to talk to you afterwards. So, we also want to consider the number of crews, because that's going to factor into overhead, because if you're running multiple crews, you guys get it. So, those are the numbers. We also want to think about the annualized revenue, the total number of crews, and the why. So, what is the goal here for 2026? We're going to look at the current snapshot in 2025, and what do we want to be annual revenue in 2026? If there's anybody that's not afraid to throw it into the chat, by all means, throw in what your 2026 goals are. I think that would be cool and inspiring. And then, more importantly than the revenue number, is we have to ask ourselves why. Because I'm sure that many business owners can identify with, we have this 6 billion. I love it, Tom. We have this idea that we want to grow the business just because, but there's probably a reason. I know for us, obviously, I'm a business owner as well, and there's a bunch of things that come along with extra revenue. It's not just that I put more money in my pocket, it's that I'm able to take my wife on more vacations, and she really enjoys vacations. I'm able to provide for my daughter and make sure that she's, left with a little something after I'm gone. I'm building a legacy. And like, so those are kind of the reasons of why I want to grow the business. And that's important for us to map out, because at some point, if we have hit our why, then there may be no reason to grow the business any further, right? Uh, with bigger businesses comes more headaches, more overhead, more risk, more all these things that, like, if we're not really doing it for the proper reasons, is just a waste of time, in my opinion. So this is going to be one of the first resources that you can go ahead and bookmark. We did put a QR code on the screen, so if you are on mobile, go ahead and screenshot this, and you can always pull it up after the fact, or you can go right to this link, our website, arbusmarketingpros.com/marketing budget calculator. Now, I'll give you a live walkthrough of this. I will tell you that it obviously is a lead magnet. So it's a lead capture form is what that means. So it's going to ask you for your name, email, and phone number. I don't necessarily care about that information. We just want to get to the calculator. So I'll go ahead and pull it up on my side so you can see exactly what that looks like. So this is right on our website. You can put in what your current monthly revenue is, your target monthly revenue, the number of crews that you're running, your average job size. Let's pretend that this is 1,500. Once you put that in, there we go. So let's pretend that we're doing 50,000 a month. We want to get to 100,000 a month, so we'd be at 1.2 million. Our closing ratio out of 100 leads, how many do you close? We're going to say 35%. Our current marketing spend, we're spending $3,000 doing direct mail, we'll say, right? The growth speed, how fast do I want to grow? If I just want to stay the same, what do I need to do there? If I want to grow moderately, or if I want to go aggressive, of course, we always choose aggressive. And then you're going to put in your information. Like I said before, I don't care if you use fake data here, test from test tree service and test. I'll just put in Justin put in my own. And this is my cell phone. Optional, you can put in your website and then the zip code. Now, calculate my marketing plan. We're going to run that through the calculations, and it's going to tell you what your recommended budget is, how many leads you're going to need, how many jobs you're going to have to close in order to hit that goal, right? So it's telling you your recommended budget based on what we see across all the different platforms. Average cost per lead is going to be about $5,200 in order to close those 20 jobs that are going to get you to that $100,000 a month if you're sitting at 50K per month. So this really does spit out not only a marketing plan, but it also does a budget analysis. So it's going to tell you on that $3,000 that you're spending, you're probably not spending enough. If this was the other way around and you were spending $8,000 on marketing, and we said that probably 5,200 would get the job done, we would want to understand, where is that waste at? Where are we wasting our marketing dollars? Below that, we also are going to give a recommended channel split. Now, we focus primarily on digital marketing, so I don't claim to be an expert on traditional marketing. We've tried mailers in the past, and we were not good at them. So we are good at Google Ads, PPC, LSA, and Meta and Nextdoor. So this is how we would think about splitting up the budget, because you don't want to split it too much. More specifically, you need to have enough budget in each one of these buckets. Like if you've only got $1,000 for marketing, don't run all these channels. Just run pay per click. But if you have this amount of budget to play with, this is sort of how we think about the budget allocation. And this goes back to the concept of the marketing funnel. where we really want to spend some money at that bottom of the funnel with the people that have the trees sitting on the house. But we also want to fill up the pipeline with some of these things like meta ads and Nextdoor. Again, if there's any questions, feel free to throw it into the chat. You can always, once you're done, you can come through here and adjust your plan and play with the numbers and get some updated results. So that is the marketing calculator. Again, that's going to be right here. You can take a screenshot of that QR code. It is on our website. If you go to arboristmarketingpros.com, you can find it through the menu navigation under resources, under the resources tab. So that should help you identify if you're spending enough. So what is your goal for 2026 and how many leads will you need monthly to get there? And obviously there's things like cost per lead that we're going to have to factor in here, but this is all just a math equation. So individually, you guys hopefully have already taken and said what you're currently at from a monthly perspective, and you've mapped out what you want your goal to be from a monthly perspective. And then we can run the numbers and figure out how many leads do we need to make that happen? What's our closing ratio? What's our average job? We can combine all those things together and we will get it. I also have another resource more closer to the end that I'm going to be able to share with you all. All right, so let's get to work. We're going to work on your marketing strategy. So I like to think of, one of the challenges or biggest opportunities that we see is many business owners, not just in our industry, they're looking for the thing, right? They're looking for the quick fix. They're looking for the magic bullet. They're looking for the latest hack. And the reality is that any one of these marketing channels, digital specifically, anyone can work. It's just about am I good enough? Do I have the skills in that particular channel to make it work, right? And so we really focus on let's get one thing working proper before we move on to the next. Because too many times I'll talk to business owners that will say, I'm spending $500 on Facebook ads, $500 on Google ads, $500 on Nextdoor, $500 over here, $500. And it's not enough to actually do anything meaningful. Whereas if you had that $3,000 and you put it all in Google Ads, it would be hard to do that for more than 2 months without seeing a positive ROI. So we call this the accelerated growth model. Obviously, goals are to drive leads, maximize conversion, and optimize the results. We do that with organic SEO. And again, we've kind of touched on this earlier. Does SEO still matter? Does, because a lot of what we're going to do with SEO will translate into AEO, which is answer engine optimization, aka getting found on ChatGPT. So if you joined this call thinking that I was going to spend an hour and a half talking about AI, that's not the case. However, being prepared for a consumer shift to AI search is something that tree service business owners should be thinking about. And most of us will be relieved to know that if you have invested into SEO in the past, meaning you've done some of the things that are on the screen, I'm not going to read them all to you because some of it is super nerdy. But if you've done a lot of these things, then you're going to be in a pretty good position to start ranking organically on things like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or whatever your favorite AI search model is. I will tell you that one of the biggest things that you can do to start ranking on AI search is going to be called schema markup. And most advanced SEO agencies or SEO practitioners will already have deployed that because it also helps with Google's rankings. So if you're doing schema on your websites and you're building citations from these different third-party listing sites like Nextdoor or Yext or some other listing platform, you're going to be in a pretty good position for AI search. I'll also tell you that now would be a good time to start investigating the platform called Reddit because a lot of information from AI comes from Reddit because AI views Reddit as a reliable source of information. So any questions on that, throw them into the chat. But we want to make sure that we get our SEO dialed in because that's going to bleed into our AI search optimization. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee here because I like being caffeinated. Right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into paid search. Now, I like to think of this pyramid, this is sort of the lay of the land with what I would want to focus on for most tree service businesses. Unfortunately, smaller tree service businesses will often do this backwards because of the ease of implementation. It is not easy to get this organic foundation because you have to get a website domain, you have to get a website, you have to set up your Google business profile. And some of those things can be technical if you don't just pay somebody to do it for you. The other downside is that if you pay somebody to do it for you and it's a deal that's too good to be true, it probably is. So you're going to want to make sure if you hire an agency or hire a vendor to build your website, there's a couple of things that I would absolutely want to know that would be deal breakers for me as a business owner. Do I own the assets? And what happens if we part ways? If I don't get to retain everything that they've built, that's a huge red flag and probably a waste of my time. So it is difficult to set up the organic foundation, but it's so crucially important because everything else builds on top of that. Oftentimes, what we'll do is we'll start with social media ads because it's very easy to set up a Facebook ad. You just go in there, put in your credit card information and say, I want leads. And away Facebook goes, sending you leads that aren't qualified. They're spam, they're robots, they're from out of the country. Your messages are getting flooded with hackers. And so we do this backwards because it's easier, right? Nothing good was ever built on easy. So we're going to set the foundation. From there, we're going to try to establish ourselves for those folks that are at the bottom of the funnel, the people that are looking for tree work right now, because that's going to be your highest quality lead. It might cost you a little bit more, but I'd rather chase 5 leads and convert 4 jobs than chase 10 leads and convert 3. Also, it's going to be the highest quality lead, and you have complete control over who you're advertising to. If you're going with a lead provider, and there's no shortage of them out there to choose from, and I'm not saying that all of them are bad, but I won't name them on this webinar, but there is a company that they run ads on Google, and they run ads for the words tree work or cheap tree work near me. And so my clients don't want people that are searching for cheap tree work or free tree work to be shown their ads. They don't want leads from people that are searching for that. But those keywords are very cheap. So the business that this lead provider is in is the arbitrage. They try to acquire interest and leads as cheap as possible and sell them for as much as possible. And their business model is based on the difference. What that means for us as business owners is that we end up chasing leads that don't really go anywhere. They have a low closing ratio. They're price sensitive because they've gotten 5 other quotes from 5 other companies, and it just feels like the entire industry is going to crap, when in reality, we're just fishing in a biohazard pond. So when you set your own foundation, you have the option and the opportunity to set who it is that you want to target and who you want to advertise to. And that is golden. From there, once you have your website and you've got your local service ads and your pay-per-click set up, then you can go on to paid directories like Nextdoor, some of those other ones that are out there. Yelp, we can, talk about that. I hate Yelp, but whatever, that's personal. But you can go ahead and start bolting on these things because all they're really going to do, the only reason I, as a marketer, care about them is that they're going to feed the SEO that is on your website. So they will ultimately help you rank organically. There is absolutely zero reason to sign up for any of these paid directories if you don't have a website, because the only value, you might get 1 lead a year from them, but the only value they really provide you is a link from their website, which has a good domain rating, to your website, which might be brand new. That's the biggest value that you're going to have. From there, you can start bolting on social advertising. I have Facebook ads, TikTok, and YouTube listed here. I will tell you that for our industry, we have experimented with TikTok, but it's not the most ROI positive platform out there. At least it requires a lot of quality content, a lot of testing to make sure that it lands in an ROI positive place. Right now, it's Facebook. After their Andromeda update, the whole meta advertising game is phenomenal right now. And also YouTube by way of Google. Those are what's really doing well on the social media side. What's interesting about YouTube that a lot of people don't think about is that YouTube is a search engine. So we're talking about paid advertising, but if you think about SEO, we often think about the actual like Google search engine result page. But if I go to YouTube and I type in how to, remove a oak tree, and your business comes up and I click and I watch your video, that's brand awareness. That's also going to help your website rank when people are looking for tree service near me. Here's the biggest thing that when we take over an ad account, we see that is done wrong is that, and we're talking about pay-per-click, not local service ads, but oftentimes we will see that there's only one ad group, meaning Google ads are broken down into campaigns. ad groups, and then the individual ads. The ad group level is where you're setting all of your keyword targeting. And so this is super important because you want to separate out removals and emergency removals from things like trimming and stump grinding or tree services. So we have to be very selective with our keywords, but we also want them to be segmented. And you say, well, why is that? Okay, if I said to Google, I have $100 per day budget to spend on Google Ads, and a click for a stump, we'll call it a tree removal, emergency tree removal, that might be $20 for the click. So I can get 5 clicks per day for emergency tree removals. Now, most landing pages only convert at like 10% tops if your landing page is A1. So that means that for that $100, I might get 5 clicks one day and then 5 clicks the next day. The law of averages would tell me that it's going to take me $200 to get one lead. We're not even talking about then I only convert 35% of my actual leads, right? So that means you can do that math out. I would need 3 of those leads roughly to get a sold job. That means that my customer acquisition cost is going to be somewhere about $700, right? Whereas if I told Google, hey, I've got $20 per day for this campaign group, but I've got $80 per day for this ad group over here, it gives you more control over where you are allocating your marketing budget based on what you want for your business. Now, we would obviously all love more emergency tree removals, but removals and trimming and all those other things are also important to us. So we want to make sure that we have the budget available, because if all 5 of those clicks happen in the early morning, your ads aren't running for the rest of the day. So that's one of those things. If you've ever been into Google Ads and you see that it's been limited by budget, that's the reason, is that you have already spent your entire advertising budget for that day. Don't use specific text ads and landing pages for groups of keywords, and they don't have strong call to action or an offer on the landing page. A lot of times I'll see that people are just driving this traffic. You spend all this money getting eyeballs on your website, and then you send them to the homepage. What would be better is if you did a landing page, just off the top of my head, like this one. So this page is, yes, it's part of the regular website, but it does not have any navigation. I can't go to their gallery. I can't see their services, their service area. I can't see any of that. The only thing that this page serves to do is to show off the reviews. You'll see that we have 3 different conversion elements here. We have a click to call up here on the top, click to call right here for mobile, and then a web form here. This is powered by High Level, but your CRM company, whether it's Jobber or Single Ops, whatever you're using, they should have form functionality. You'll have all of your reviews. You're basically just trying to warm this prospect up and get them to convert. So you should have multiple CTAs. That stands for calls to action. You want people to take action if they spent money to get to this site. Now's the time to get them to convert. So your whole job is just to wow them and ask them to call you or leave a web form for you. I can't navigate anywhere else on this site. So if you're just driving them to the homepage, we live in a society of ADHD, so people will get distracted and they will not convert. It's just facts in real life. Also, if you can get creative with your offer, that is going to make all of your marketing cheaper. And what do I mean by that? All of us, many of us, are using just free estimate as our offer. And yes, that is an offer, but it's certainly not the best offer. I'll give you an example. For Arborist Marketing Pros, for our agency, our offer is used to just be schedule a strategy session, and I will give you, like, I will look at your marketing specifically and I will tell you what you're doing wrong. If you want to be a client of ours, our packages are monthly, yada, yada, yada. Here's the pricing. Now our offer is, we're so confident that we're doing a risk-free offer where your second month is free if we don't hit your performance goals in the first 30 days. Nothing really changes about the way that we do business, but the offer itself will remove the friction and actually reduce your cost per lead. If you're able to reduce your cost per lead and keep your closing ratios the same, then your customer acquisition cost comes down. And if we can make it cheaper to acquire a customer, we can buy more of them and grow the business. So we talked about organic SEO. We talked about paid search. Now let's talk about the database, your data warehouse, where you're keeping everything. That's going to allow you, depending on which platform you're using, That's going to allow you to reactivate. It's going to allow you to stay busy during the slow seasons. If you're just waiting on inbound lead providers from people that are at the bottom of the funnel, eventually the bottom of that funnel will dry up. And then what do you do? This is why having a multi pronged marketing approach is going to be so crucial. From here, we're able to go ahead and send out things like text message campaigns to let John know this spring is here and we're offering exclusive savings. We're able to give out discounts, percentages. We're able to, depending on your system, if you captured this data, you can send out happy birthday cards. You can send out happy birthday text messages. If you have their addresses in your system, you can even do some direct mail campaigns based on different time horizons that are very unique to each specific customer that you serve. This is how we can build very sustainable businesses, but it all starts with the data. So if you're not using a CRM, I would implore you to get one. There's a ton of them out there. Again, we use in our agency, we use something called Go High Level or Lead Connector, and we deploy that for all of our clients because we need to keep track of this data. If you don't have that, you can sign up for something like, Jobber, House Call Pro. There's a bunch of them out there. All right. So take a minute and either rate yourself if you are taking notes. Go ahead and rate yourself like, how are you on each one of these different areas? How are you doing with generating organic traffic to your website and generating leads inorganically? Organic just means not paid. That can include all kinds of things like that can include your SEO efforts. That can include your organic social media presence if you're posting a lot of content there. Then we think about like, how are we doing on our paid traffic? Are we getting an ROI on Google? Do we even know? Are we just spending $1,000 a month on Google and get a kind of have a feeling of how it's doing, but don't actually have it tracked somewhere? That's going to be priority one, is make sure that if we know where the money is going and what it's bringing us back. The database, do we even have one? How are we leveraging it? Are we using it for all leads or just as an invoicing platform? That's going to help you to identify where your biggest opportunities are. We also covered a bunch on the website, making sure that we are making sure that it's maximized for conversion. Do I have these calls to action in different places on my website? Am I using a landing page or am I just driving the traffic to my homepage or my contact us? From there, we can talk about optimizing ROI, your total spend, and your ROI, your return on investment, and all that. We're going to talk about the website now. I really want this again to be it's hard to do a workshop like this because you're sort of blending theory with practical application. And I hope that we can deliver on both of this. I'm a person that needs to understand, yes, you're telling me to do XYZ thing, but why do I need to do it? And if I understand the why behind it, then I will have a better shot of actually executing because we're going to be, this is a lot of, right? Like to be candid, there's a lot going on here. So let's talk about the 12 critical elements that you need to understand and evaluate if you want to maximize your conversion of your website in itself. The biggest thing is talking directly to your target customer. This is your customer avatar. This is marketing 101, which is too oftentimes we just say my ideal customer is somebody that has a credit card and a pulse is optional, right? Is somebody that has trees on their hat. Like, yes, but what does that person look like? Not physically, but like what kind of tax bracket are they in? Where do they live? What kind of house do they have? What kind of acreage is it sitting on? What do they do for fun? What is their age? What kind of jobs may they have done? The clearer that you can get on who it is that you're trying to market to, the more specific your messaging can be in your market, and you can really talk to their specific pains. Now, a lot of times people are like, dude, we're talking about tree work. Well, yes, however, if we look back at our previous customers and we identify a trend that we dealt with a lot of soccer moms that wanted to beautify their property because they have guests that come over for the holidays and they really want to be, they want their yard and their trees to all look trimmed and proper. And that's our ideal customer. Well, then we're going to market to that individual much differently than we're going to market to the person that says cheap tree work near me because the tree's about to fall on their car and they're having a hard time even paying their bills as it is, right? The messaging is different. And so in our industry, if you're branded as the cheap tree work company, then the soccer mom that wants to beautify her property who actually has disposable income to spend is not going to hire you, right? Because A, you're not on her radar, and B, you don't fit the bill of what she's looking for. So we have to address our target market, and that makes all of our ads cheaper. when we're able to say, are you a soccer mom in Northeast Ohio that, wants to beautify their property for it? When that person sees it, they're like, wow, they understand me. Yes, book. Yes, I'm willing to pay more than I would have for anybody else. Use real photos. We still in 2026, for some reason, still are seeing stock photos on websites. That's crazy because AI, if anything, it should be an AI photo. Like, why are we paying for stock photos? Don't use stock photos, use real photos. Add some videos and multimedia. Again, we are emotional creatures that think that we have to have the most beautifully edited videos, and it really has to make our company look prestigious. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Take some regular organic social media videos, go out on a job that you're doing, explain what you're doing real quick, take some before and afters and put them on the website. Customers prefer authenticity, and something is better than nothing. It would be great for you to have a website welcome video. You could do a Zoom just like we're doing now, or fire up a Zoom and record it, a Loom and record it, or take your cell phone and record it and send it to your marketing person or upload it right to your website. And then showcase some social proof. Everybody's, if you've been in business for any length of time, you obviously are doing good work and have satisfied customers. So make sure that you are speaking to it. If you're on this call, I assume that you probably understand the importance of Google reviews. So you probably have at least a handful that you could copy and paste onto your website to show your customers that you spent money to get the eyeballs on the site. You could show them some of the good work that you've done and what your fans are saying about you. So put that social proof in front of them. There's some like fundamentals about the website stuff. I called that out earlier, so I'll sort of skip that. But if you are a member of the Better Business Bureau, TCIA, ISA, make sure that those logos are featured on there, because that's just going to add to your brand authority and make sure that you are the authority in the space. Meaning your calls to action, call me now, click here to fill out the form. Those should be super clear on each page, and any service or coupons that you have. Also, most importantly, probably this should have been at the top of the list, is when we build websites now, we build them in the mobile view. Like we build them on a computer, but we build them in the builder in mobile view because over 60% of all website traffic is mobile based. So it doesn't really make sense for us to make a website on the desktop view when the majority of the people that are going to see the website are going to be looking on mobile. Similarly, all of our ads that we're running on Facebook specifically is we need to be making them in a vertical video format because that is what the platform favors, and that is what going to give you the most screen visibility if you do it in portrait form, not landscape. So optimize everything for mobile first. Make sure that you have a live chat function. Every CRM system out there has some sort of a live chat. Most of them are SMS widgets where they can send you a text message if somebody does opt in or they want to start a chat conversation with you. So that's super important. And give customers the opportunity to book the appointment online. You can set it up very easily to where it doesn't have to be tied directly into your schedule. And you have to, if you just make them book it out more than 4 days in advance, that gives you kind of enough time operationally to make it fit into your schedule as far as just getting the estimate done. So get a calendar on there where they can book appointments online. Make sure that your site speed is good and engage customers through SMS and phone automations. So going back to, are we doing a good job? And let's be honest about ourselves. I had a boss a long time ago that called it the ugly baby effect. Nobody ever thinks their baby is ugly. But if we're really honest with ourselves, let's go ahead and look at our websites and say, are we optimized for these things? Are we showcasing our social proof like we are here at the top of the page? Do I have a click to call? Do I have a form right here up at the very top of the website? Am I making it very easy for people to give me their information? And am I optimized for mobile? Those are some of the things that we're going to want to look at. Some examples of a video and multimedia. Again, this is a cell phone camera. This is not a professional videographer, just taking a video of the spider lift in action. So it doesn't have to be anything special, but having a video on your site actually gives you an SEO boost as well. So this is a positive ROI activity. Here's some examples of social proof. It doesn't have to be a fancy integrated widget that ties directly into your Google business profile. While those exist and they're out there, it's not a mandatory requirement. You can very simply just throw the text on your website and make it look like it came from Google. Which sort of leads us into reputation. So we talked about website. Now let's go ahead and talk about your reputation. If you're like me, we very much enjoy referral business because referral and word of mouth is the best advertising. And that is absolutely true. And the reason that it's true is because we are all conditioned to disbelieve or be skeptical of salespeople. But when somebody is referring something and they don't have anything to gain by referring it, I am more trusting of their opinion. And that is exactly, like to the T, what Google reviews will do for your business, right? Now, it obviously isn't as powerful as your neighbor going out to his local restaurant and telling every single patron there that you're the best tree service company in the greater area. But when somebody does go to Google and they do see your profile and they can tell that you have a ton of Google reviews, it signifies, it's a social signal that says these guys are trustworthy, right? So, how can we engineer a mechanism in our business to get these Google reviews automatically? There's a bunch of different ways that you can accomplish this. I will caution everybody on this call, do not purchase Google reviews. You probably have seen them. There are vendors out there that will sell you Google reviews and from different countries, and they'll, you know, do not promise me that you will not purchase Google reviews. The reason being is if Google catches wind, which they always do, your business profile will be suspended. And I'd rather have a business profile with a smaller amount of reviews than a suspended business profile. So earn your reviews the proper way. One of the ways that you can do that is with CRM automation. So if you have a jobber, you have a House Call Pro, you have a lead connector, you have a single ops, you can set up automations in the platform. After you have invoice paid, you can send out a text message to that person saying, "Thank you so much for choosing us. We really hope to see you soon. By the way, it would mean the world to us if you gave us a 5-star Google review. Here's the link," right? If you get a bad Google review, which happens from time to time, we're in business, we can't make everybody happy. There is a way in the platform to dispute Google reviews, and I would recommend that you do that on everyone, even if it was deserved. We do that for our clients automatically because we want to make sure that we're trying to preserve that reputation as much as possible. So, try to figure out a way to automate your Google review requests. Try to make sure that you're staying on top of disputing all those Google reviews and reply to every single one of your good Google reviews. The reason that that's so important is Google is always looking to see, is this business active? Are they still in business? Should I be recommending this to people that are actually searching for the services that they provide? So we want to give Google every single signal to tell them that, yes, we are still operational. We're answering the phones. We're responding to reviews. We're getting new reviews. And that is how you will see companies like this and this that only have 45 but are competing with companies that have 453 and 590. It's about review velocity as well as the rate of reply. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to talk about automation. One of them, sorry, I'm just checking the time here. All right, we're good. All right, so one of the problems is that 50 to 60% of the traffic comes in and it leaves your website unconverted. The other 90, and then there's 90% of your web forms that fail to convert, meaning that you might have a web form that comes in, it was spam, it's a bot, all those things that cause them not to turn into customers. With web forms, what I find in our industry is most of our clients are phenomenal at picking up the phone. And some of them are really, really good at responding to the web form leads. But it's not uncommon for a web form to get missed and us to call them back 3 days later and say, it was a BS lead. When in reality, if you make me wait 3 days for anything in 2025, 2026, I'm going to the next provider. So we have to figure out a way that we can really be on these web forms as soon as possible, like as soon as they come in. So that's where AI and automation can help. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and start building out custom automations in N8N or Make or any one of these AI platforms. But what you can do is start looking into the systems that you're using. I keep bringing up CRMs and I will continue to bring them up. If you don't have one, that would be step one, because many of them have something built into them that would allow you to leverage it and send out these requests. The leads that aren't following up with 15 minutes, they go cold. The average customer has to be followed up with 5 to 7 times before they actually book with you. So if you only called them once and you didn't get an answer, that's not a bad lead. It just means that you need to try to call them again. It's hard to keep track of that when you're running a big business. So you have to figure out a way to either hire for that skill set or use automation to make it happen. And today's consumers just prefer to interact via text message versus phone call or email. It's just the reality of the state of the world that we live in right now. So the solution would be to leverage marketing automation to follow up with some web forms within 2 minutes via phone, email, and text messages. Most of you all registered for this webinar in advance, and you've been receiving email notifications and text message notifications reminding you that it was coming up. I didn't send a single one of those. That is all coming from, as much as I would have, because I love you for showing up, all that was handled from Go High Level, from our CRM system that we use based on the pipeline. And you came in and all that. We have it all tagged and sourced properly. And so the database is going to be super important for making any of this automation work. It all should happen in your database, or at least the data should be pulled from your database in order to make sure that you're sending out text messages to people that submit a web form. If you can automate the follow up to where every prospect is touched 5 times and able to engage in a two-way text message, you will see your conversion rates go up, which again, everything that we're talking about today is in an effort to help you hit your goals by way of reducing your advertising costs, more specifically, your customer acquisition costs. If you have a higher conversion, that will require you to get less leads to have the same amount of customers, which makes your customer acquisition cost cheaper. All right. And then it comes into like optimizing the results. So again, if you've got your notepad out, go ahead and let's rate ourselves. You can call it the green, yellow, red, 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to do there. But how are we at maximizing the conversion? How's our website? What's our reputation management look like? And then how are we using automation today? If we're not at all, just put a 0, put a red. It's something that we should at least investigate. All right, so let's go ahead and break down your total spend. Now, this is another resource that I wanted to provide for everybody on this call. So if you've got your cell phones out, or if you're on your cell phone, you can take a screenshot of this. You can access this QR code later. But basically what this is your 2026 marketing budget planner. This is where you can, ahead of time, maybe on a weekend or a night, you can go ahead and map out what your marketing spend should be. Now, we are a digital marketing agency, but again, I like to think about marketing as a whole because they all should be playing nice in the sandbox, meaning they should all be working together cohesively. That said, we want to think about how much do we want allocated to online marketing, how much do we want allocated to offline marketing, and how much do we want allocated to repeat business. Most customers that we talk to never even think about advertising to the people that have done business with them, but that is your ideal customer, right? So, yes, we do direct mail to them on a pretty regular basis. Some of us do, but really you can do the same exact thing digitally. You can create a customer list, upload that list to Facebook and Google and all those other places, and run ads against those specific people. So it's a great way to stay in front of your previous customers, which is going to be your highest leverage opportunity. More specifically, and for those of you that are more advanced, you can even set up automations in most of your systems, like your high levels and your jobbers. You can set up automations to where 6 months after a invoice is paid, you add that customer to a reactivation campaign in Facebook. I won't go into that today, but just know that that's some of the ways that we think about marketing and how we're leveraging it for our own business and for some of our clients. Um, Now, our industry is seasonal. So we went ahead and also broke this out by month because we understand that there's a couple of different strategies that you can deploy here. You can either A, go really hard on marketing in the spring and the summer and try to sort of set up a nest egg for winter and fall, right? You could do it that way. You could just say, I know that I'm going to have a ton of organic inbound coming in the warmer months, and I really want to save some of my marketing budget for the colder months so that we can stay busy year round. Those are two different options, depending on where you're at. If you're in a climate where it just freezes up and there's no work to be had, then obviously we'll have to consider that in part of our strategy. I'm not giving you the strategy, I'm giving you the tools to create the strategy itself. So you can break this down by month, but it all starts up here at the top to figure out what should my total budget be. Now, this is going to be based on percentage of top line revenue. I usually recommend that your marketing, if you want to stay pretty consistent, it should be about 10% of your top line revenue. So, in the example that we looked at earlier, let's say that I am a 600K a year company and I'm doing $50,000 a month. That means that monthly I should be spending somewhere around $5,000 for marketing. Now, I'm a digital marketing agency, so I might be a little biased, but I would recommend that the majority of that spend go towards digital because it's way easier to scale than it is to scale traditional. And so I would say that roughly 80% of your spend should go to digital marketing, 10% should go to offline marketing, and 10% should go to repeat business. But these are your business numbers. If you disagree and you have a strategy that you've been doing for years, by all means, do that, but at least use the calculator so that you can make sure that you have everything formatted the way that you want to. When you pull this up, you'll be able to see where you can plug in the numbers and then we'll run the calculations for you. If you want to get accelerated growth, if you really want to grow fast and you're like, Justin, I'm at 600K, I want to be at 1.2 by the end of next year. That means that you want to double the size of your business. You're going to want to spend 15% of your marketing, of your revenue on marketing. I also like to think about this spend from the goal perspective, meaning if I want to be at $1 million in revenue, I should be spending 10% of what that $1 million is, not 10% of what my 250K that I'm at now is, right? So you can scan that QR code. It'll pull up the planner. All you have to do is click make a copy, and you'll have your very own that you can go ahead and plug the numbers into and get to work on that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about ROI. This is a quote by, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name, but Lord Level, yeah, I will. Lord Leverhulme. But half of my advertising spend is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. So if you're not tracking your spend, you might not know where your money is going. So let's go ahead and rate ourselves. Do we know A, where our money is going? B, do we have a good idea of what our marketing budget should be going into 2026 based on the goals that we've set? If not, you have some homework after the call. Use the resources that we've given to go ahead and get that plan rolling. And that way you'll at least have the budget set up and you know what next to do, right? If you say, okay, well, I should be spending X amount of dollars on Google Ads. I don't know how to run Google Ads. I'm going to point you to a resource that's free. It's called ChatGPT. If you go to ChatGPT, and you ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm a tree service company. I've got $5,000 to spend on Google Ads. I want to not waste any money or as little money as possible. How should I set up a campaign? ChatGPT will literally walk you through it step by step. Alternatively, I'd probably regret myself if I didn't do this. You can always book a lead flow strategy session with us. I'd be happy to take a look at your current marketing plan, your area, what the cost per click is there, and we could discuss what it would look like for us to work together. So, takeaways, because if we don't take anything away, we don't do anything, then this was just a waste of an hour and 15 minutes. So we want to think about what is the lowest hanging fruit, because we talked about a lot of different things, right? Automation and CRM systems and Google ads and local service ads and all these different things that we could be doing to make sure that we are optimizing our marketing for 2026. But what is the easiest and most impactful thing that we could do? If you don't have a CRM system, I would start there because that is going to help you to make data-driven decisions of, am I spending enough in these different areas to actually drive something that's meaningful? And if the answer is no, then we know that we need to start investing into our marketing and taking it a little bit more seriously. I want to make sure that we plan your focus. So if you do want some help and you want us to take a look at your plan, go ahead and just type help or let's talk in the comments. And we'll get with you. I'll send you a note. We'll make sure that we can put it on the calendar and sync up and walk through your exact marketing plan. Um, I do also want to, here's more of what you'll get with us when we work with you. We want to make sure that we drive leads, right? So here's the clear steps to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. You're going to want to drive the leads. We need organic leads, paid leads, and the database to reactivate your past customers. We want to make sure that we maximize the conversion because if you're driving traffic to your website, you need to be able to convert those people into customers. And then we want to optimize the results. So think about how much are we spending? What is your average cost per lead? What's the ROI? What is my ROI by channel? Meaning ROI on Facebook might be 500%, where ROI on Google ads might only be 300%. Maybe I should take some of my marketing budget and pivot it towards Facebook. The digital dominance method, it really just talks about all of the things that we talked about today. When you have these systems, and this is something that if you're new to digital marketing, and you don't have any of this set up, this is going to sound very daunting. And so it's very important that we knock these out one at a time. But it all sort of starts with having your website be the foundation, because then you can do your SEO on it, you can do your organic, you can apply for your local service ads that will improve the quality of your local service ads leads and reduce your cost per lead. Then you can start doing retargeting. I don't know if anybody on this call has ever almost thought about a new pair of shoes or something and then went on Facebook and started seeing ads for the new pair of shoes. We're all pretty used to it now at this stage of the game, but that's essentially just called retargeting. And all it is you are installing what's called a metapixel. It's a piece of code, a metapixel onto your website. And when people go to your website, Meta basically like installs a little tracker on them, and then we follow them around the internet. So when they go back to Facebook, they're going to start seeing Justin's tree service, fall specials, you know. Um, this helps because if you spent money to get somebody to your website from Google Ads, right? You spent pay-per-click dollars. They clicked on it, they went to your site, and your website didn't convert them, which happens 90% of the time. Again, landing pages only convert at 10%. That means that that 90% is going back into the world. Oh, sorry. They're going back into the world. They're going to Facebook. They're scrolling. They're going to Instagram, and they're going to start seeing your ads again and again and again. In this way, your Facebook ads are truly making your Google ads more successful and vice versa. And that's that symbiotic relationship that we were talking about. If your yard signs happen to have your website on them or a QR code that takes them to your website to schedule your appointment, and they click on that and they go to your website from your yard sign, and we start retargeting them on Facebook, then your yard sign and Facebook are working cohesively together. And that's why offline and online can really be part of the same marketing plan, so long as you have the right systems in place. As long as you have a website where you have all this data feeding from and a system that can keep track of it all. From there, you can start talking about your online directories, getting your PPC dialed in, and social media. Here's the thing about social media. My rant on social is that oftentimes business owners will say, well, Justin, so I tried this social thing. It didn't really work for me. Okay, well, how often were you posting? I posted like once a week. Okay. What were you posting? I was posting, call us for your tree service needs, call us for your tree service needs, call us for your tree service needs. Okay, time out. Couple things. One, when I go to Facebook, I'm not looking to go on there and find the tree service near me, right? I could do that. I would go to Google if that was what my intention was. When I go to Facebook, I want to be educated or entertained. Those are usually the two things that I go there for, right? I'm trying to cure boredom. So make your content in a way that would actually be of value and beneficial. The other thing is every single piece of content that goes out organically to Facebook, meaning not paid ads. We're not talking about paid ads. We're talking about organic social media. Every single piece of content that goes out is being tested, right? The algorithm is showing it up to people. And then based on if they engage with it, will determine how many more organic views, how many more impressions the platform will send it out to. In other words, if I make an amazing piece of content and Facebook shows it to 100 people and all 100 of them watch it, Facebook is going to show that piece of content to probably millions of people. Versus if I make a garbage piece of content that somebody sees and scrolls right past, and 0 out of those 100 people actually engage with that content, Facebook is not going to show that content to anybody else. Let's keep in mind that the algorithm is designed to keep people engaged and on the platform. So if your content doesn't keep people engaged on the platform has 0 incentive to keep your content shown to more people. So if you're failing on social, that probably means that you're just not good at it, right? And so that's okay. If we can approach things from that lens of it didn't work because I don't know enough, then there's the opportunity. I, as a business owner, can learn more about what's going to resonate with my customers and with my audience to get my social media organic posting to start working. The other thing about that is Facebook is free. It would be outlandish 10 years ago for us to talk about any platform that would give you free exposure, right? Back in the day, if you wanted any visibility on your business, you had to like call up the yellow pages and pay for an ad spot there, get listed. You'd have to run an ad in the newspaper, and all these things cost money. Today, we have a way that can actually generate real business that is absolutely free for you. You just have to be good at the creative. Cool. So, if you are taking notes again, go ahead and take your top 3 action items. take away your top 3 action items. This could be investigate CRM systems. It could be, build out the spreadsheet, use the budget planner to figure out what your marketing spend should be. There's a bunch of opportunities there. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about what we covered today. So we have hopefully set clear goals and targets for 2026. We know what it is that we want to hit. We have realigned our KPIs and made sure that we covered all the different tracking that we're going to need in order to make sure that it happens. We know what we're going to spend on these different platforms. We're going to map out that plan for accomplishment. And now, if you're, as long as we have a strategy, we can always adjust the strategy if need be. I live in Florida. We're building marketing strategies for our clients right now for 2026. And so if we get a storm, now all of a sudden our strategy is going to shift a little bit and some of the budgets and priorities will shift and change around hurricanes. So we can be flexible, but we're not being reactive. We're being proactive because we already have this plan in place. For that plan, we're going to make sure that we have our budgets mapped out. We know which channels we're going to focus on. We're going to be watching all the important trends and staying up to date. Don't let AI come in and catch you off guard. It is a thing. It is coming. It is evolving every single day. As of this workshop, it is not where you should be spending all of your time, but start to figure out ways that you can leverage it. Instead of going to Google to find something like, how do I launch a Google Ads campaign? Go to ChatGPT. What that's going to do is it's going to open up your eyes about what I can use AI for. If you haven't gotten into ChatGPT yet, by all means, I would encourage you to start leveraging it. I was at a volleyball tournament, well, a volleyball practice, sorry, last night with my daughter. And, I usually bring my computer and it's like a long practice. She practiced for like 3 hours. They're like savages. And normally I bring my computer and do some work, but that day I didn't really. I was kind of just scrolling, just taking it easy. And there was a guy next to me he did bring his computer. And he was there for all of at least 2 hours on this little desk with his computer. And I watched him painstakingly write. I don't know how many emails, but for the whole 2 hours, he was just replying to emails. And it blew my mind because I realized that today, I leverage AI so regularly that it would be crazy for me to spend more than 5 minutes replying to an email. I will take an email, drop into ChatGPT, put in my thoughts, and say, this is how I want to respond to this. ChatGPT will formulate it. I'll copy and paste it back into the email, nice and professional and in my tone. And you might say, well, yeah, but then it's obvious that it was written by AI. And that's only if you're not good with AI. If you're good with AI and you start practicing it, then you'll know some of the AI tendencies. Like, here's the truth, right? if I see here's the truth in your Facebook content, I know that you just went to ChatGPT to make the content. Or that long EM dash that everybody uses in there. I know that it came from ChatGPT. So we got to get rid of those if we're going to use ChatGPT in our responses. So if we incorporate all these things, we start leveraging AI, getting used to it, we actually follow our plans, we're going to go ahead and set ourselves up for massive success in 2026. So again, as a reminder, um, key takeaways here. There's a lot to cover. And it would be very, very easy for us to get overwhelmed and just not do anything. And I would say that something is absolutely 10 days out of 10 better than nothing. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, I need to go ahead and build a website myself and start leveraging AI and set up a CRM, pick one, right? Pick one and give ourselves the quarter and say, okay, you know what? I do need to set up a website or update my website. Go ahead and take the time this quarter in Q1 to get that knocked out. Or I do need to start tracking my data a little bit better. Take Q1 and get that mapped out. But then in Q2, Q3, Q4, we can start building these systems. And what will happen is by the time we're ready to do this again in 2027, we will have so many more systems built and we'll be in a much better position and situation to scale. Awesome. I got through a massive PowerPoint in an hour and 13 minutes, which I think is a record. And I'll give a shout out to Starbucks Coffee, K-Cup Coffee, for making it possible. If you guys have any questions, again, arborsmarketingpros.com. I'd be happy to give you a one-on-one. Otherwise, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you all for joining and sticking with me this long. And hope that all of you have a good plan and a very successful 2026. And if I don't talk to you, we'll chat soon.